Town of Bernardston Select Board meeting for Wednesday, April 15th, 2026. We'll call the meeting to order at 6:01 p.m. Just a reminder, this meeting is being broadcast live on BNC TV and live streamed on YouTube. To find BNC TV on YouTube, go to youtube.com and search for Bernardston-Northfield Community Television. This meeting will be available for later viewing by following the link at thetownofbernardston.org. You can also watch channel 1075 on your Comcast dial in Bernardston. And if you see a new face at the table, Lou Bordeaux is back as the town administrator, came to talk, as Karen Kelly is starting to transition out to go on and enjoy her family and friends. Welcome back, Lou.
Thank you, sir.
So first order of business tonight will be the warrants. I'd entertain a motion for the payroll warrant in the amount of $62,631.38.
So moved.
Second.
Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
I'd entertain a motion for the vendor warrant in the amount of $78,279.13.
So moved.
Second.
Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Meeting minutes. I would entertain a motion for the regular meeting minutes of April 1st, 2026.
So moved.
Second.
Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
I would entertain a motion for the special meeting minutes of April 7th, 2026.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
And I'm going to skip calendar and announcements so to go to our first visitors to take advantage of their time so they can hit the road when we're done. So we're going to welcome the Franklin County Tech School and their budget presentation tonight.
Okay, well, thank you very much. I'm Rick Martin. I'm the School Superintendent Director of Franklin County Tech, and I have with me Liz Bouchard, new hire this year for a business manager. It's her first year as a business manager, but 10th year in the district, and she comes to us with a lot of experience, and we're real excited to have her. The purpose of tonight is twofold. One is to give you an overview of our school budget and how it impacts the town of Bernardston, and the other is to provide an overview and an update where we are with the MSBA project and any questions that you may have relating to that. So in your emails, our executive assistant, Janice Monemy, has sent you an electronic version of this budget book, and why that is important for tonight's meeting is so that anyone in the community that wants access to the electronic version, there's probably 200 to 300 different types of links that verify where the budget numbers are coming from, and that's important for transparency. So we're not going to go through all that tonight. What we're going to do is just highlight some of the important parts of that and try to dive into really how the assessment and the enrollment with the town of Bernardston, if that would be okay.
Great.
All right, so you got your cover page, kind of updates the new aviation hangar. We have the new animal science program. Those are our external buildings that we have. Each of these electronic budget books will have a table of contents. So whatever you're looking to find, it will be pretty easy. You just click on it, it'll take you right there. But for the purposes of tonight, we're going to kind of take you through the sources of funding. This is how we receive our money, and these items that are dictated through the Department of Ed. One is the assessment to towns, and how it impacts Bernardston is important. When I click on per pupil, I highlighted it ahead of time. I got yellow for the town of Bernardston. You can see your trend. You were 25, then 30 students, then 25, then 23. So you'll notice your assessment has gone down a little bit, and it generally is the case when you're down a few students. When I see that little 21 in here, that just tells me I'm trying to help you a year ahead of time. That means we have a few students coming in, but a few more that are leaving. So you'll be down a little bit for next year by a couple of students. That's my cheat sheets, that little 21. When I look over for the FY27 assessments, be $335,585 at an per pupil assessment of $14,591. And that seemed to have dropped a little bit overall over the last 5 years. You were actually higher than that a number of years ago, and this is numbers that are dictated to us. When we look at our average for all 19 member towns down at the bottom, we've fallen at 13,640. So you're slightly above the overall average for all 19 member towns on a per pupil basis. And that's again, a formula based on your minimum contribution is right here at 311,000, and your assessment is 335,000. So you're a little ahead of the minimum contribution. You're going to notice that it's pretty tight as compared to maybe other school budgets, because we're getting a little bit more efficient with that particular process. When we look at going back to here, the sources of funding, you click on that, take you right back to that main sheet again, and I'm just going to scroll up again. You know what, we just did that one, sorry, it's a double click.
Just as a FYI, the state minimum contribution per pupil for Bernardston went up $1,078. So some of
Yep.
that is the driving factor of
Yep.
the increase as well. So
And I
It's-
remember
the
like
state is
5 years
dictating
ago,
minimum
you were up
contribution.
around 16.
Yep.
So it kind of does change. It varies all over the place. This is a debt service. This is from almost a decade ago regarding our old windows, doors, paving, and roof project. When I click what's the assessment to Bernardston, which is our major focus tonight, I would click on the debt assessment to the towns, and Bernardston would be $6,681. That will fluctuate based every 2 years on the EQV. It fluctuates a few $100s.
you're down $55 from last year.
Yeah,
So-
so I have my expert
Very
here.
good.
So she'll give you the exact. And so that's kind of an overview there, and that equates to that $206,000 number that you saw up top. So if I go back to the sources of funding and how we receive our money, Chapter 78 is the next big one. And we have had the last several years taken a hit here. The previous year, we were actually up in our enrollment by 12 students, and yet they put us in hold harmless, which means to the Statesboro, they took all that money and they put it elsewhere. I don't know where they put it, but they did put it elsewhere. They didn't certainly give us the $10,700 per pupil that they are supposed to. Instead, they placed us on a new hold harmless, and they changed the formula to make that happen. So if you're doing something good, they're gonna try to take it away, which is exactly what they did. And since this is my last year, I have no bones in saying that. All right. So for this year, however, our enrollment dropped, and I'm just gonna get to that. I'm gonna scroll real fast since I don't have an enrollment line right here to scroll to. I'm gonna take you right to it, and it's gonna drive some people crazy with what they're looking at. But where am I? I thought I had it in here.
The psychedelic show at home.
Yeah. This is it. So our
There you
enrollment
go.
in district, you can see we were at 591. That's our hold harmless number, even though you can see our enrollment went up. Yet they put us in hold harmless. That's one of the first times you have hold harmlesses for those. If you have an enrollment of 100, and you're getting Chapter 70 for 100 students, and the next year your enrollment drops to 80, the state's going to give you the Chapter 70 money for the 100 students. So they hold you harmless for the enrollment drop. If you increase in enrollment, you're supposed to get that per pupil expenditure above that.
We got
No.
less per pupil last
right.
year with the increases you can see.
So-
in 20 people.
Yeah.
It worked out to be
Down to 12 students, and we expected to be in hold harmless, and here we are. That's why, the reason why that's an important talking point is because, you know, we worked hard to get out of hold harmless because we knew it doesn't benefit the tax base. If you have a school district that's in hold harmless for a number of years, they're draining the money instead of, you know, what we try to do is reduce in force to match the money coming in. That makes sense. It's a hard decision to make, but in the long term, it helps our towns. So when I look at that Chapter 78, here's what they call the Department of Revenue cherry sheet. I'm gonna click that. Anyone familiar with that? Okay. Never heard of it. All right, so the Department of, I know the board here has heard, but the reason why I talk the way I do, because there may be people online
Yeah.
that are not familiar with it.
Correct.
So the Department of Revenue cherry sheet is where the allocations are for regional transportation, reimbursement, as well as Chapter 70 school funding. As you can see, that number that I showed you, the 6.248 million, I'll go back to it so you can confer, is I could just type these numbers in here to match. The 959,000, the 185, I could have just put whatever numbers I wanted. You wouldn't be the wiser. What's important for transparency in the general public is to scroll down and take a look at the Department of Revenue cherry sheet, the actual cherry sheet. It will go right to the Department of Revenue. If the internet is up and running. Okay, let me try that link one more time.
Oh, it was giving me trouble today, this website specifically.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, now you do have to trust what I
So
say.
it really truly,
right?
I got in after like the third try and going through
So
their
this
main
is
page, I couldn't get
all
into the
that will
link.
do. The reason why I like showing that external link is because what it will do is, I'll try one more time. Any school district, you can look up any school district and what they received and take a look how that compares to what they're reporting out.
I had to go
All
in
right,
right through.
and I only do that because I do administrative trainings on Chapter 70 for the state. And there's, not in this year, but there are school districts that will show you one number, and the Chapter 70 reimbursement and regional transportation will have a different number. So what are they doing with the difference of that money? So this is just to give the townspeople more confidence. When they look at this budget booklet, when the link's back up and running, they'll be able to tell what we're doing.
I had to go through DOR, so it was acting up.
It was acting up, okay.
The House Ways and Means were
Right.
like, oh, let us.
Yeah.
I have looked that up, and it does match.
Yeah, so, and
Thank
that
you
doesn't
for
happen
confirming.
all the time. And that's important on the DOR cherry sheet. So that's a little education for the community, not for the select board. State aid transportation, that number I just showed you is 959, so it looks like we got a little bit of an increase. But I want to also show you, and I know Liz is going to get to the bottom part of the screen and how we actually spend our money. Since I'm on my way out the door, I want the business manager taking some sort of a hit. All right, so,
yeah.
Right? Not like giving the money, but
right.
spending it.
All right, and so that's 959,000 for the region, and how that impacts us, again, it takes us to that same cherry sheet when you click on the link. If anyone wants to know what is regional transportation or what is Chapter 70, if you click any one of these links, state aid, it'll tell you a whole paragraph of what it is, all right? And it's kind of written for the general public and what the guidelines is from the state. If I click on a link here, it will take me to the state guidelines. So you can kind of verify what I'm saying in the paragraph with external links, and that's important. Again, I'm not taking you through every link. I promise you that ahead of time. I love this stuff, so I'll refrain, right? When I look at the, with that, it's 959,000. If I go down to how we actually spend it, we're spending 1.3 million almost, 1.97. So where's the difference of 1.3 million and 959 going? It's coming out of our operating budget and from the tax base. Now, the state has said that they would reimburse regional transportation 100%. Well, I'm just letting everyone know that hasn't happened. And since we do not receive rural aid, we'll have a brother who goes to one school district in Pioneer, and we'll have a sister who comes to Franklin County Tech. Pioneer receives rural aid, as they should, right? Franklin County Tech, because we're a voc school, we get punished, and we do not receive any rural aid. So we hope that our regional transportation would help us. I have already sat down with key people to try to make that happen. You can see there's still just give us $350,000 in rural aid, which is less than what everyone else is getting, and that will close the gap with regional transportation. And I promised them I wouldn't say another word to them. But I've had frequent meetings over the last several years, and I'm not giving up on that one. So enough said on that. When I look at down here, non-member towns, again, these aren't the anything with non-member towns. It's a paragraph that explains it. What's the funding mechanism? What can Franklin County Tech take tuition from non-member towns? You press the guideline, the CTE admissions. It will give you the out-of-district stuff as well, so you can get an idea on non-member towns. and those don't belong to the membership, but they pay a lot more than the $14,000 that are paid at Bernardston. They probably pay
Next
in the
year's-
mid-20s to high 20s, depending on their special education allocation. Go ahead.
But next year's rate is 22,010 without special education services. So then you add in the 5,000
Yeah, yeah.
It's
plus for
6
special
now, right?
education. So you're, yeah.
Yeah, so
we're
it's
looking
like
at
$28,000. Yeah.
for out of district.
So we take that out of district money to help the town, so we offset that money. We're taking more of that, almost all of it, to try to lower it, because we got drilled in something that Liz is an expert on, and that's why I saved the bottom half of the screen for her, which is the insurance. And so you'll start to see why we did some of the maneuvers that we did. Insurance is a big hitter. We have a self-contained program called, it's our tuition, it's our pre-employment program for students who aren't, who have the intellectual challenges and aren't ready to be in the mainstream. However, we do have a very strong support system there, so more students have come, so we're using that money to help offset the budget. When we, in the past, you can see the zeros, we didn't do that. Other revenues, we are a voc tech school, so we get Medicaid, but surplus equipment, we sell an old machine, it goes into the account, we put it towards the operating budget. And then the other one is excess and deficiencies. As you all know, that's the town's free cash. So it's our excess and deficiency, what was not spent the previous year. We get lower than we have been getting, which tells you what? We're using more of the money and the budgets are getting a little bit tighter. When you click on the excess and deficiencies, you'll see a whole paragraph explaining what it is for the school districts. When you go down here, this DOR website, will it work? We'll see.
When I come back next year and say our excess and deficiency is even lower.
Lower, right.
Please
So
know it's not because I'm the
it's
good
saying
spender.
not secure, so it's not allowing me back to that
I had to go through
DOR
DOR,
website.
yeah.
So that will explain the exact number, and I promise when you look at it at home, you'll find it. The exact number that we are referring to here is the 533,747. That's what they gave us to spend. So we're spending every last penny of our excess and deficiency to help offset the budget because of the insurance concern. We would have liked to reserve a little bit more in case we have a disaster like we had 3 weeks ago when we couldn't go to school. But that's another story. So then I'm going to go down to the bottom half of the sheet, and I'll scroll as you talk.
Sure,
All right.
sure.
So this is how we spend our money. So Liz, go.
Yeah, so district leadership and administration, you see a decrease in that line. We had a business manager of 28 years retired, and then we also have a long-term superintendent retiring. So we were able to do some reductions on that line. Instructional services, you'll see a reduction there. We did have some reduction in force based on other expenditures this year. We are actually looking into bringing back a couple of the positions, and I'll talk to you about how we're able to do that in other lines.
Do you just want to jump to the insurance? and
Sure,
explain how
okay,
that's
so,
done?
yeah, the elephant in the room. So insurance,
Yeah.
we're part of the Hampshire County Group Insurance Trust. I don't know,
We're transitioning out.
you are transitioning out. Okay, so you are aware of the challenges, the 20%, well, we had the 18 and 19% increase for
Right.
July, the 20% in October, and then 12.48% for next year. When we were first budgeting, we were actually anticipating a 16 to 20% increase. So things were looking a lot
Yep.
different then. So at 12, we're also transitioning out as well. So that being said.
Where are you going?
We are going to captive insurance, so it's going to be brokered by Fern Rock Consulting Group. So we're going to have Harvard Pilgrim HPI .32 plan.
Yep.
So big leap, really big leap.
Yeah.
But we don't lose anything.
Right. That's good.
So.
And we get a lower percentage, and with the
And-
savings, go ahead.
And secured rates, so we were able to lock in at 6% a secured rate, so we know we won't have a mid-year increase. So with those savings, we are able to, we have a much higher special education population coming in next year. So to be compliant, we do need to hire another special education teacher. And we're also gonna bring back an English teacher that was retiring. We initially weren't gonna replace the position, but now with this savings and insurance, we're able to replace much needed positions that with a growing enrollment we'd be struggling without. Can I ask you who you are going?
The GIC.
You did a GIC, okay. So you gave your notice
Yes.
in
Yep.
December. Well, to GIC. So we thought about that, but I wish everyone well with all their
Yeah.
transition.
I know, it's crazy.
Student services, pretty flat. That's our extracurricular, medical services, SRO.
Athletics.
Athletics,
Yeah.
all those extra student activities and competitions and stuff. So we tried to strip down as much as we could to balance this budget, so it's pretty flat. Regional transportation, we have a 5-year contract for our transportation bid, so it's a 2.5% escalation on that. So not a huge increase. Plant operations and maintenance, again, pretty flat on that. Really just tried to strip down each line. We had done a pavement repair last year. We don't need that this year, so that's kind of the difference you see there. Retirement contributions was a big jump. We have quite a few retirements this year, so separation costs are large, as well as our Greenfield retirement contribution that increased by $100,000 this year. So the blows just kept coming. They just couldn't win this year. So you see a big jump on that. Insurance for active employees, another huge jump. You're well aware of where that's coming from. Retirees, same thing. We're also transitioning those as well. We're just waiting to we're hoping to lock in rates that we currently are at right now. That's what it's looking like. Hoping for 18 months, but that's still not guaranteed. So we're budgeting as if there's going to be some increases. Non-employee insurance, property liability, so some increases on that, and we have 2 new outbuildings as well. So the aviation hangar came online, so we've added that building as well onto our insurance. Capital stabilization, big drop in that. That's how we were trying to balance this budget. So concerning with an old building, we really don't have a lot in that fund as it is. We pretty much have last year's money on last year's operating budget, FY26, in the fund. So we were hoping to put a little more into that this year, but there was no way to close the budget gap without taking from that line. Debt service, that's just talking about the revenue that was coming in for the windows and doors project that you pay in each year. School choice tuition, we at times have 1 or 2 students that attend Monty Tech, and that's not their sending district. So we are responsible for paying, and that's on the cherry sheet as well. When you go in there, you might see a $5,000, $6,000 school choice tuition. So it's $5,074 to send a student out to Monty Tech. So we're budgeting for 2.
That seems light.
Their school choice.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we are not a school choice, hence why we have tuition at the
You
state
can't
cap of
choice in,
$22,000.
but you do choice out.
So the students that don't attend Franklin Tech because we don't have a program that Monty Tech may offer, they can attend Monty Tech.
Just Monty Tech is the only school they can go to?
Or
No, it would depend where they live. They could go to any program. So we have in this area, a little bit closer, up Route 91, if there's a program in agriculture or animal science that we don't offer, those students can then go to Smithville.
Yeah.
And the problem with that.
That's what we got.
You got
Which
the
is probably more
out-of-district
relevant.
cost,
Yeah.
then you got the transportation cost. Those
Yep.
two together are averaging $50,000 to $70,000 a year.
Yep.
And you're probably paying somewhere in that range.
27,
27,
For
that's
the
probably,
tuition.
that's the tuition.
yeah.
So
And you
probably,
got the-
yeah,
And they,
The parents are going to transport.
Oh, so
okay.
that saves you.
Because I know another one of our towns.
That's usually been averaging about 35,000 for the
Coleraine got a-
transfer, up to 45.
for one
For
student.
one
yeah,
student.
Coleraine got a bill for $30,000 this year for one student to go to Smith Oak. So the
I-
tuition's in line.
Yeah.
Why does Tech have that cost? Why isn't it back on the town? Why is Bernardston paying for our student to go to Smith, and whoever those students are being paid for by Tech?
So school choice is different, right? So school choice is gonna be a whole different formula as it relates to what we pay. So basically, we'll get the chapter 70 money from that student, but out of that money, that we then have to pay the $6,000 of the school choice tuition. So we actually net about $4,000, even though they're going to Monty Tech. They'll have a program, and it has to be from a member town. So usually those students are from New Salem or from Orange, in which they choose a shot program and got into Monty Tech that we do not offer. So by state law and regulation, that's what we're caught up in.
So they're already a student at Franklin
They're a member
before they
town.
go to Tech?
No, No, they
They're
go
one
to
of our
the-
19 member towns, student from one of our, that resides in one of our 19 member towns.
Right. Right.
So I don't know why we're going to be paying for a Smith student. Why aren't you going to be paying?
I knew you were gonna get there.
Right, so the Smith student is a state regulation, right? That's not anything that we are in control of.
Right.
That if a student from a member town who resides in a regional partnership with their local regional vocational technical school, that school does not offer a program that that student desires to go into, then the town of membership would then have to pay for what that student wanted for a particular
That could be
program.
any place
And you
in the
can
state.
So-
confirm that they're enrolled in a program that we do not offer as well.
Yeah, I just don't
To-
get why some
foot
of them
tuition, no, you
are
can-
paid for by
Yep.
tech and some are paid for by the town.
It's just that
That's
portion of it, the Department of Revenue takes that money from us
Yeah.
to cover the school choice portion, which school choice is a different
Yeah,
figure,
that's
it's
a,
that lower figure.
right. And so it kind of is, one of the reasons, when I was out to these towns, a dozen years ago, and I'm hearing about the number of students that were going to Smith for a animal
Right.
science program, that was one of our initiatives. We then worked with the state and created a Chapter 74 animal science program, and we built the veterinary science clinic, and we have retained kids and saved towns hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars. You think if you're going out for $50,000 to $70,000 for 1 year, times that by 4,
Right.
the town's spending $200,000 when they're spending the average of the $13,600 per pupil just to come to the tech school. It's a huge difference.
Yeah.
So we developed that program, and we got under the umbrella of animal science. And why that's really important, because many of the Volk schools got under the umbrella of the veterinary science. We got under the umbrella of animal science, which we can now expand that program to
Wiggle.
include many of the things that are involved at Smith Volk. That will keep students, they have to now come to us in those capacities. The only thing we do not have, that Smith Volk does have, is the agricultural portion. And that's our next thing. We just wrote another $2.5 million grant to try to get an agricultural bond. We were on a holding pattern because of all the money they've already given us with everything else.
Every other
So
year. Yeah.
we have to probably wait a year, but when that comes online, then there really is no excuse for any student to go to Smith Volk, because we'll have all the programs.
Do we know what the student going to Smith Volk is?
Agriculture.
Okay,
Yeah.
so you have the right to
Yeah,
confirm
that would
that.
make sense.
I don't know what other
To
programs
ensure
they
that
have
they
we
are
don't
not
have.
attending,
Is there
because we
anything
have the
else that a
exploratory program that
student
we're
would
required to
choose
have.
down
So you can confirm, I know the superintendent would sign off on them attending the application, but you have the right to confirm that they're gonna be entering and are taking that program of study.
I'll be a little bit more blunt.
Go ahead.
No players over there, so I know what the game's being played. Come into our agricultural program. Explore all the programs that we have. Oh, I like advanced precision machining. They go into that program, the town's not the wiser, and you're paying a substantial amount of money for a program that we already have
Right.
locally.
Mm.
So I encourage every town,
To-
if you're sending a kid, get their transcripts every year. You can demand a report card, or at least show proof that they're in the shop that they're in. And
At least year one, confirm
Yeah.
that they ended
that's
in the
been
program,
already
you know.
a success in some other towns.
Good
Just
to
want
know.
to put it out there.
Good to know.
File that
But you
away.
won't always have parents that are willing to transport
Right.
the student.
Right.
And
Right.
like I said, Coleraine, for one student this year, they called me, it's $30,000, so.
That's a budget buster.
It's a
Been lucky.
huge budget buster.
Every time we've had kids going to Smith, the parents have said, we will transport, no way are we
Yeah.
gonna charge the town.
Which
for
is-
that," Which is great.
But our school choice, not many years ago, looking at the cherry, in the DOR and the cherry sheet, was upwards of $32,000, not that long ago. So
Yeah.
last year was
going up.
$5,074. So let's hope that that trend continues. So.
So just a quick
And
thing, we're
then
gonna.
our
yeah, go ahead.
OPEB,
Yep.
you're all probably aware of
Oh, yeah.
post-employment benefits, it's real, it's real liability, it's a huge liability. So we dropped $20,000 on that this year because we
Reduced
had to
year over
reduce-
year?
Yep.
We reduced what we're putting into that fund this year because it was
Balance the
either that
budget.
or continue to ask our towns and increase our ask to our towns, and we weren't willing to go more than where?
So
we-
overall, it was a challenge to recover from what would be unanticipated a year and a half ago of a $1.2 million shortfall in insurance is causing our budget to be turned upside down on its head. And we're not alone in that. So that's municipalities, that's other school districts. We're all in this together trying to struggle, trying to resolve it. So I'm letting you guys all know this is how we did it here. I don't know what's going on there. The last thing, I think that pretty much, I'd just like to show you a little bit about the enrollment, because that's what drives our budgets.
You said it went down?
Yes.
12 students
Huh?
In district, yeah.
In district, yep.
In district.
Yep.
So level or increase with the out of district, the whole picture?
Yeah.
Okay.
So this is just a chart that gives you an idea kind of how we budget. Enrollment is our budgets. Students are our budget. And so when I look at this orange line right here, it says 172. And that's for this year, 2025-26. That's the number of freshmen who came into our building. That blue line that goes up is 585. That's the number of available 8th graders in the entire membership of our 19-member towns. So we take that number, we take about 30%, we had 172. And then we go through the school attendance report. We click here, and this takes you to every single town in the entire Commonwealth. So we go to the Franklin County towns, we see who's in pre-K, kindergarten, first grade, who's actually in the seats, and we extrapolate that out. So we can actually budget and predict what the enrollment's gonna be, and if we take the 30%. That's how we're not making budget cuts and taking 10 teachers out in one given year. I know that 5 years ahead of time. So we do it slowly over time. Or the other way, we need to add teachers. We do that slowly over time. So that gives you an idea of the strategies behind that school attendance report. This is why I want to show you the electronic copy, because it gives everyone in this room a better idea on how to plan as well. When I look at that number, percentage-wise, we're actually taking less kids this year, percentage-wise, than we did way back in 2015 and 16 when we took 132 kids. The catchment area was 662 back then, the highest that it's been, and we took 19% of that. But at 132, we only had 154 applications. So we almost took everybody. 172, we had 290 applications. So we're taking a lower percentage overall from that. Now, when we look at the lottery and the impact on that, that will then change some of these numbers, I'm sure. But you can see the blue trend in the catchment area is slowly going down. Those are real numbers. That's exactly what that data that I just showed you. And so if we stay solid with that, we can predict our numbers kind of fluctuating going down along with that. So that gives you an idea on how we kind of think how we're going to manage and be responsible to the funding moving forward. The other part, so that kind of gives us an overview of the entire budget book. There's a lot more in here. If anyone here or in the community can't sleep at night, I encourage you to take a look at
Show
this.
this slide, it's like one of my favorites.
All right, I'll show this slide.
It's-
All right, Liz, you're right.
It's our mission, it's what we do,
All
right?
right,
It's
yeah.
important.
So this slide was an independent data analysis that was sent to us. And this shows all the regional vocational schools in the entire state and the percentage of high school graduates that declared their intention to go to the work in the field of study that they came to the voc school for. Franklin County Tech led the state, this is 3 consecutive years, blow out everybody else. Our kids are going to work and going into the trade at a higher percentage than all the other regional voc schools. What's interesting, there are some national voc schools on this, and I say national, they're the ones you see that have been on CNN, that have been like the glory of the country. They're the lowest. Why they're the glory of the country is because they're not sending their kids off to work, they're sending their kids off to college, right? We got great public schools right here, Pioneer, we got Frontier, we got them all in Mohawk, we got some good schools that do a really good job getting their kids off. Not that we won't have students that go off to college, I'm not saying that. I'm saying our major purpose is to support our communities in that realm, in the voc tech realm. So we've done a really good job with this. This is our mission, this is why we're here. If we wanted to be a college prep program, well, why do you need us? You know? So I wanted to show that chart. That speaks volumes to our mission and to what we are doing, so good catch on that.
How many co-op students do we have out right now?
We have
Over
100, we have 110, 130 will be in a month's time. I just got off the phone earlier with another school district that's a vocational school on the other part of the state, and that superintendent was excited because out of his 657 students that they had the best they had 25 students going on co-op. So I had to tell them that that's not what we're here for. So that's the overall budget presentation. Again, if you think of questions, can't sleep at night, just give me a call.
You
and-
have
and I'll
19
try to
towns in the district.
figure it. Yes,
You're accepting people from outside of the district, so you're in the lottery.
Yeah.
You're saying people that want to go to Franklin County Tech can't go because you're reaching outside of the district to bring people in.
no.
Good.
So what happens is, great question, that now because of the lottery, we're only taking member school districts at this particular point in time. There's just not room.
Yep.
You
So
know?
are that out of the tuition that you see helping to fund the budget, that will decline.
But
As long as we have
But
enough
the good
interested
news
students
is,
applying.
because we're taking member schools moving forward, we will get out of hold harmless a lot quicker, because they only count the in-districts for the chapter 78.
Okay?
So that's gonna be very, I mean, as far as the hold harmless count. So we'll be out of hold harmless because, it will be okay in the long run.
All right. Sounds good.
So you had to make cuts to some staff this year, you
Yeah.
know, difficult decisions. Was
Yeah.
what was the driver of that? Population drop?
No, the driver
Health
was
insurance.
insurance.
Yes,
Okay.
expenses, yes. That were
Expenses,
out of
just so
our,
people
outside of our
understand.
control.
Yeah, the main driver was totally insurance.
Yep.
If we didn't have the insurance glitch, we would just rode that wave.
Mm-hmm.
Right, exactly.
Makes
Or,
sense.
or I would have saw it coming 6 years ago. There was, you know, because you
Hmm.
can see it.
Well, that's what I saw. I just want to make sure I was reading it right.
Yep,
Yeah. It's crazy, huh?
Can I add to your co-op?
yep,
My son is an alum from your institution, and I was talking to him about my great-grandson getting a co-op for next year. And he said, good for him. And then his mind went to all of the kids that he went to school with that were in co-op, and he started naming those, I think they were all boys, who went into a co-op program while they were at Franklin County Tech, who ultimately became the owners of where they went to co-op.
Wow.
well, I think the other big bonus that I love about, I can brag for 1 second about our school.
Absolutely.
I absolutely love the fact that the majority of our kids will graduate, stay in the area, work in the area, get homes and families in the area, and pay taxes back to the area. Like, that's a nice situation to have. And we have to do follow-up data from our Perkins grant 2 years out, and that's what we find. And so, and that's what we see around in the community, and that's the stories
Got the-
that are being told. I mean, they stay here. That's a good thing for the county.
You bet.
I think that's a testament to that last slide.
That-
Right.
I was like, we
Showing
can't not
it's
show that.
just,
That's
yeah,
just,
that is,
Right.
it's a
yeah.
great summary to everything that goes on.
Absolutely.
And you know, the costs associated with vocational education, but look where these students come out with industry recognized credentials. You know, they can be cosmetologists without taking on a $25,000 tuition for cosmetology school. I mean, it's just,
Right.
it's pretty special. It's
Yeah,
pretty special.
sure.
So
And to Jane's
it's-
point, I also know several people who have gone to Franklin Tech, started businesses, they're owners, they're employers now, because they have employees now. I mean, it's great. And what do? They buy properties, they buy houses, they buy, you know,
And they
They pay
taxes.
taxes.
Our students go on field trips and they hear, they talk to these
Yeah.
these
Yeah.
union residents. What were they talking to the plumbing union the other day? The guy managing the program is making over $300,000 and his people under him are making 200 plus. So, they're talking to these students about your options and
Sure.
within the trades and how quickly you can grow.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's incredible.
And all by the time, a lot of them by the time they're 30, depending on what the field is.
Sure.
Right,
Right.
yeah.
And that's the kind of thing that they can retire at 45 if they want it.
Right.
That'd be great.
Right.
I do have one observation
Yeah.
/ question on your page 42, the graph you showed before the last slide there. The 10-year enrollment trends. We were at least under the impression that the student population was going to significantly increase over, well, I forget what the period of years it was. However, this real data that you're showing is a little bit of an eye-opener, and I certainly don't see it booming like the claim was.
Well,
That's why if you saw me look at them, we were
it's
thinking the same thing.
It's just the numbers I'm reporting
Yeah,
out.
yeah.
And there's
That's-
one other screen here that kind of showcases those numbers a little bit more, is right here.
Yep.
So here you have a graph shoot and kind of telling the enrollment at the high schools in the county. Only grades 7 through 12 for the majority of them. We're one of the, I think we're the only 9 through 12, right? So we're higher, but it's just grades 9 through 12. Here's where you look at that numbers, and you see who's currently, I like to see who's coming up the pike real quick, so this is like a quick snapshot. Grade 7 through 12, who's in grade 7, who's in grade 8, grade 9, grade 10, 11, 12, and what their total students are. And you can kind of get an idea what's coming down the pike for us, so we can plan. And again, it's that same click. If you can, these are exact numbers. So you can click that right there and find those 8th graders right under that tab at those particular schools, and that's the exact number you're going to see on that chart. And just like I said before, some of that's so important to take the time and do that for transparency reasons. So we get an idea of who's in what grade level, and coming up, we can kind of plan on that.
So that was my observation, and talking about the slide that's on the screen now, just for
Yep.
as an example, you can see a significant drop in some of the schools. One in particular I look at from 8th grade to 9th grade. They're obviously not all going to Franklin Tech. They're
Correct.
choosing other schools.
Well, in that chart, will also show you who's being homeschooled,
Yeah.
who's at a parochial school, who's at a private school, I mean, and who's being homeschooled. So the numbers, that's why they're accurate, right?
Yep.
So what you often find at some of the rural school districts is once they enter middle school, especially high school, the numbers do get smaller because they start choosing those other alternatives. Not that they don't do beforehand, but not in larger numbers. So you'll find some of the pre-K and elementary numbers to be higher. So I don't think that people are wrong in saying that they get an increase, but that's referring to, from the chart I have, maybe the younger grade levels.
So my question, after saying all of that and
Yep.
making those observations, so my question regarding page 42, the slide right after
Yep.
that one, what is your margin for error?
Well,
Obviously, we can't account.
you can't account for-
necessarily account for new families moving
well,
into town.
that's the margin, right?
Yes.
So you're gonna go probably plus or minus probably 5 to 10%.
Okay.
You know, you're probably gonna be in that range. You can't determine someone goes through elementary school and their parents decide, I want my kid homeschooled.
Sure.
Or
Yeah,
vice
you can.
versa.
Yeah.
Or they move in, move out, they
Right.
don't, or they can't afford, someone lose their job, they can't afford the private school, and all of a sudden they're back into the mix. There's all those other variables, so it can fluctuate.
Of course.
So I use this as a general guide, because that's who's actually in the seats.
Okay.
Any other questions?
I don't.
Ken?
I'm good.
Jane?
Excellent presentation.
Yeah,
Thank you.
absolutely.
I just
As
want to say,
always.
as you're transitioning out, we appreciate all you've done
Oh,
in
yeah.
this district.
Yeah,
We really,
Thank you.
and the transparency of a document like this makes it so easy that you've developed with your team
Yeah.
through the years. It's really super great that you do
Thank you.
that for us. I
Thank
mean, we
you.
do appreciate that, all you've done.
Make
You've done a
sure-
huge
and
amount
Make
for
sure
this
your
community.
replacement does the same thing.
We interview tomorrow, so.
I mean, the numbers are grants you've gone out and gotten and not
Yeah.
taxpayers'
And he
expense.
even
Somebody's
touched on
paying
that.
for it, but it's
Yeah.
not us.
Right, right.
You know, to
Yeah.
get the aviation program up and going to
Over
little or
four-
no
over
expense.
$4 million,
The vet tech
no-
program, the same thing.
No expense to the
I
district
mean,
on the aviation program.
That's because of guidance and leadership from yourself. I mean,
Well, thank you.
Were there a
very much-
flood of
Very much
applicants?
appreciate that.
A dozen or so.
Okay.
Great.
Nice.
We will miss you.
Yes.
Absolutely.
No
Indeed.
matter how good your replacement is, we will miss you.
Quite the transition here.
Yeah,
Not for me, it's
I
like
know it.
insurance and retirements
Yeah.
and, you
And
know,
we're looking
just-
for you to train the new.
Right.
I'm not sure I can handle hyperlinks, but, you know, maybe I'll
Sure you
okay,
can.
but, yeah.
Hey, Brian, real quick,
Yep.
I did want to mention too, Michael Reardon, your public, yes, he's been very responsive to our newsletter, he's sent a couple articles,
Excellent.
and, you know, again, reaching out to the community, so really
Thank you
appreciate
for
that, and make
Yeah.
sure, give him a shout out.
Letting us be
Yeah.
part of that, yeah.
That's good.
Excellent. I'll let him know. Thank
Great.
you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it, really. Thank you.
Yes, it's the one budget that I receive every year that I get full confidence in.
Hmm,
We,
I can't say
Work.
that about very many others.
Right.
we'd love to say there's never an increase, but unfortunately,
Yeah, of course, we get it.
just,
But we appreciate the fact you look forward, and
right.
if somebody's retiring, okay, maybe you don't fill that position for 3 or 4 or 5 years, until you see the numbers starting to go support that.
Exactly.
That's much appreciated.
So
Transparency.
this won't be as long,
Bless you.
but I want to give everyone an update where we are with the MSBA.
Yep.
All right. And there's an important backdrop that I'm going to show on this next slide, and here it is.
You gotta wait a second,
He's
she's,
worried about very many others.
Sorry, guys.
Oh, no problem. Why I look old on TV.
It's the lighting.
It's the lighting, right? Yeah.
There we go.
There we are.
It puts on 10 pounds, right?
Yeah, for
Just
sure.
for the audience.
Exactly.
All right.
We'll go on.
Just like you always heard.
This is an important screen, and there's a backdrop on why it's real. About 8 or 10 years back, our lights in our building were flickering on and off. And so we had a specialty company come in and diagnose the issue. We have about 18 Federal Pacific old-fashioned switchgear, and those switchgear weigh anywhere from 200 to 500 pounds each. Old technology, and the company, well, one of them's gonna go, and when it goes, you're out power of the building, and you'll have to close down school for 2 months. That was unacceptable, so we brought it to our building and grounds, and and the company did their research, and they actually found someone that can rebuild a brand new one, or refurbish them, but really build one, because they don't exist anymore. It takes 2 months to build, which is why you would be out. Well, we went ahead and spent $150,000 for the one that was in the worst shape, and we had it delivered on a Wednesday. And Friday, 5 p.m., the light flickered and didn't come back on. The company came in the next day, and by Saturday night, we were back with full power. Of course, we went out and bought another one. And then 2 months later, the same story repeated itself. Then the third one, they might have read in the paper about 3 or 4 weeks ago, we had to send all the kids home.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, we had a glitch that fortunately this switchgear that was not going well, they could fix it on the spot.
There is
So
a
we had
reset
people, that
anyway.
was unusual. So we were thankful for that, because we thought, wow, this is another major switch at 150. So now we gotta go out. So one goes between now and the next time we buy the other one. I think, did we just
We
buy
have,
it?
yeah, so we
we
have a
just bought
second,
it.
so we have a backup.
All right.
So the one that's in, that was manually reset in March, we actually took the backup, even though we thought it was in good standing, it had been refurbished. We actually brought it to one of our school committee members, drove it down to Connecticut just to test it and make sure everything was up to snuff on it, so that we know we have that backup plan. So it's there, and, you know, obviously when we test everything this summer and we have Eversource shut us down, we may put in the other one so that we can send the other one back out to ensure everything's.
And I just want to say, the outside of our building looks fantastic. The grounds, the horticulture department, the landscaping, and our maintenance has done a great job. They can't help the internal structures. So what's been happening as well during this whole time frame is we had to relocate entire hallways because of the sewage leakage we couldn't find underneath the building, right?
And into the, you know, the cafeteria space, and it's just
Right.
out of.
Right.
So we had, I think one was several days, the other was several days, and there's no easy way to find it. We got lucky on the last one. We were going on day 3 and they found it out near the boulevard, not even in the building. And they just, we're just looking for it, and they actually found the leak. So all of that underground plumbing is gonna have to be replaced, right? So when we first applied to the MSBA, we got rejected because, you know, just the competition or whatever. I just needed them to come out and see what we had and see the mechanical system. I'm no expert, but they are. So they bring their engineers in, all their experts, a group of 6 or 7, they went through the hallways, they come back to us, and on that day, they said, we're putting you to the top of the list, because this is not good, right? So that's what they did. Then we got invited into the grant program for the Massachusetts School Building Authority, which is called the MSBA. I'm not saying it for your sake, but in case other people aren't aware of it. And then their cost estimators did, you know, our first goal was, how can we just update the building? You know, it's worked good for 50 years. We serviced our community real well for 50 years. How can we do it for the next 50? They said, we can refurbish it till we're blue in the hills. We're not going to get 50 years out of it. But if we just replace what you're talking about and get our building up to code, because once you do the mechanical system, I just got through talking to replace it throughout the entire building, the estimators come up with 32 million. These are independent estimators on 2
Underground.
separate things that came together, and they averaged what they came out with. So they were pretty close on
They were really close,
all of
yeah.
these. Then once you do that, a big electrical, you have to replace the roof, which we did our first and second coating. You can't do a third without a complete tear down and breakdown. And anyone that's done a school roof know that's a 5 to 7 year process as you relocate. The people under one section have to be relocated from an educational standpoint. They build that roof, then they relocate back, and that's why it takes so long.
Relocating vocational programs is not as simple as a math and
You
English.
can't just
You
get
can't replicate
modulars. You can't get
the
modulars.
space easily, so just, it's a different animal.
So
It
that was another hindrance. I'm learning a lot. I am not an expert in this. I've learned a lot by just listening and trying to see what's going on. So then the plumbing, water, and sewage system I just got would be 10 million. The roof replacement 17 million, but I told that's very conservative. Other people think it'd be upwards of 25 or 30, but we're saying that. Abatement and hazardous materials, sprinkler system 8 million, because we're grandfathered in. We don't have to have one, but as soon as you do a major renovation, you know how that works. That's a conservative figure. But to get everything up to code, you know, and the other items which I'm not listed on here, would be $103 million with no MSBA reimbursement to our towns. That's just to get the occupancy permit. So that got us thinking, wow, well, that option, well, let's explore what that looks like. Because if we did these options, those can come with 15-year bonds. Because the local bond councils aren't going to give us 30-year bonds on an old building. They're not going to pump that kind of money into it, but they'll give you 15. But what the town's paying twice as much in 15 years, short term, and then you're throwing that money in, you haven't corrected the problem. You're still going to be paying another 15-year bond down the road, another 15-year bond. It's not going to stop. And so when I look at how we came to these decisions, we had a big group of it. You know, we had some parents, some teachers, some students, some administrators, and the engineers, and we all kind of went through all the options they gave us. They gave us 8 different options. The first one was that base code update, right? the second one was like external buildings, or no, the second one was like a renovation. Take the existing building, but add on the square footage that you need to be in compliance with all of your shops, right?
Outbuildings and such.
Right,
And
and then the option 3 was kind of the other ad reno. Then option 4 was a new building that was kind of scattered like a campus, kind of fitting what we're doing. Then option 5 was a different design of a new building. Then option 6 was one big building. That's all contained like a big box. And we didn't like that idea because right now when you walk down the hallways and someone's working in collision repair, you're 15 feet away from the math class that's smelling those fumes. So what is a big building all in one? So they came up, I didn't come up with anything, I don't know what I'm doing, right? They have a design, so basically before I get to that, I'll show you, it'll be located in this area, here. And our building currently is A. It will be located in C. Our aviation hangars down here in H. Our animal science program is out here in H. So they gave this kind of airplane kind of look here to the new building. And what that does is all your boat tech shops are back here with a firewall. They're nowhere near the academics. That was a key component to the design. And then the academics and the gym and all that stuff is in this area. And we eliminated a couple of major things. I'm really concerned about the cost. There's not a no-cost option. So if there's not a no-cost option, what can we do on our end to minimize the major impact? MSBA was ready to give us a 725-person school. Could we have filled it? Yes. At what expense? I don't think it's good for our communities because we have good school districts and they would get drained. And I got to keep that in the back of my mind, right? Secondly, the amount of cost. You go from 600 to 725, you're almost at $100 million more for the entire building project. 600 will fit us fine. We're the only school district that's doing an MSBA project that's actually building a building smaller than our current enrollment, right? And that's, the cost is driving that. And I looked at it this way, 600 people in the building. They build a brand new building at 80% capacity. We can still fit the students in there, so we don't have to build something that's going to cost all that extra money.
with the outbuildings as well too, it helps.
Right, so I think that's the importance of this design as well. So as you can see, the old building is now where that soccer field was and where that baseball field, we just basically moved it over. That's just where the drawings would be on that. It's just kind of another look at it. You see the shops and here. The other move that we made with some boat shops near the exterior is always concerned about the elderly have to come in the building, walk probably a good 150 feet to get to our restaurant. Hallway bells go off, and now you have people with mobility issues run into active teenagers. It's not a match. So we have culinary arts will be on the outside here. So it will solve, because the majority of the people that come into our restaurant are from the local old age homes and the elderly housing and that kind of stuff. We want to make sure we can accommodate them.
And same with our cosmetology, so
Right.
they'll have outside access, so they don't have to be, or they'll
Yeah,
get in, they'll
because
have
they do the
outside
hand
access.
massage for
Yes.
them, and they do
Direct
all that
access.
stuff.
Right.
It's good. I haven't got a hand massage since I've been there. All right.
Well, maybe a retirement.
Yeah, I'll tell you, that'll be a retirement gift.
You have to make an appointment.
Yeah, I know it. So, why, have you gone?
They used to come to our seniors.
Okay, all right, yeah. So then this is just the academic part of it. I'm not gonna, get too much in the weeds. I really want to talk about the finances.
Is administration also in that part of the?
Yes,
building?
they are. So there's a difference between, we qualify for a 66.2% or something in that range reimbursement, right? My first reaction with the MSBA, what school district gets qualified for 80% since that's your ceiling? Like, we don't qualify for 80%? Are you absolutely kidding me? Right? Again, I speak that plain. I was a little upset, And it happened a few occasions. It happened in Fall River, New Bedford, and they gave me one other location, that's it. So it's not a real number when they say 80%. But they don't reimburse for soft cost. So here's another thing that we did. We looked long and hard, how can we be creative? So we did a design that has a cafeteria that also opens up to some space. Our gymnasium is gonna be our assembly hall. Because if you do an assembly hall, that's soft cost.
They don't
They don't
reimburse.
reimburse for that.
Oh.
So that's an important, that's down to 10, 15
Or
million,
office,
like,
you know,
it's
our
crazy.
offices, They don't, so.
And so we were very careful with office spaces that aren't reimbursed, anything that could be used, we kept shaving it off. So that, because we're absolutely sure, if I was in one of these towns, I would be looking at every little detail to say, why do they got this, why do they need that? So now at least I think we're ahead of the curve there.
And they worked so hard just to reduce gross square footage. You know, hall, you know, not having extra flex space and all this extra wasted space. So our designers worked so hard to get the cost as low as they possibly could. I mean, it's still a big number.
And I'm gonna let you take this screen.
Sure.
Go ahead.
So what do we have on the side? So this is our most current update on the project cost. We are, this MSBA will be voting our project scope and budget on April 29th. But we already met with them multiple times, so pretty much I think we've got the rubber stamp that this is where we're gonna land and they'll approve it. But until April 29th, I can't confirm this is where we land. So the construction estimate, just for construction alone with schematic design, is $193 million. With the total project budget for all the other additional costs of $236
And
million.
that includes dismantling the
The
current building.
decommissioning of the building,
decommissioning.
the excavation, everything in total, the total project at $236 mil. The MSBA, the opportunity we have with them right now, we're looking at $113 million in reimbursement, and then putting the district share at 122. It's a huge number, landing at 236. Now, when you talked about the project ranges, when we talked about the estimators and stuff, there was multiple, so you can see these ranges and how close they really were in the end. There wasn't really a huge variance. The construction cost per square foot originally was $893. With the reduction in gross square footage, it actually, our cost per square foot increased because some things just don't change, like the roof and those expensive items. So even though we had less square feet, the cost per increased. MSBA also does not reimburse for the full $917 a square foot. They are $630 per square foot. So there's some of that as well. Because of the cost, the just extraordinary increase in construction costs. So even at our 66% reimbursement, when I was on the call, one of our meetings, we weren't first on the agenda. They were talking about future projects. And projects are just so expensive, they either need to take on less projects or give less reimbursement. So they told us we were actually lucky that we locked in FY25, because we wouldn't have even seen the numbers that we're seeing right now for reimbursement.
And Liz, if you want to grab this next slide to show the escalating of the cost being so dramatic.
Sure. So you can see this is over the course of many years for MSBA projects and then ongoing with current projects. And just the sheer escalation of construction, I mean, post-COVID. Franklin Tech is up there, and that's, so you can see those are current projects, and even though at $900 a square foot, it's unbelievable, we're still, and we're a vocational school, so some of these are comprehensive districts that don't
And
have
these are
the
the
equipment.
averages that
And
are above us.
so we're still, even though I'm never gonna tell you that this is an inexpensive project, because it's not, I mean, we didn't even expect these numbers. If you look at the comparisons, we're still on the low end. And if you compare us to a regular comprehensive district, the cost to outfit vocational programs and shops we should be well above those programs. So our designers and our project managers are doing their job. They're listening to us and what our towns are, I mean, it's just a big ask of our towns. But unfortunately, the school at 50 years old, we need to make improvements.
So the only
So-
good news is if we get the vote and get the building, it's a 30-year bond, which gives the towns at least a 20-year reprieve. It is my feeling, and there's nothing that's factual about this other than common sense, that if we go the route of trying to put a Band-Aid on something that needs an operation. We'll be doing 15-year bonds forever. It just won't stop.
It'll just be, yeah,
and,
and a matter of just staging what components have to be, you know, prioritized and done at the same time, right?
And Liz, I'm gonna show the numbers for the town of Bernardston and everybody else, so if you wanna
Sure.
continue on.
You can gasp. So these are, so when you look at your capital assessments in your budget books for the windows and doors project, you see your capital assessment rate. So that's based on population and EQB, so census data. So it's the same formula right now where you see your percentages. Again, these are not, we don't have the vote from the MSBA yet, but these are based on the, on cash flows and projections, working with our Unibank Financial Services, so we can give our towns an idea of where they'll land. So looking at Bernardston, it's looking at about a $248,000 annual cost, capital cost. The bond will be over 30 years because of like anticipation of cash flows, so it'll start off smaller and end lower. But overall average over if you were to do it over 30 years, it'd be about $248,000. So it's not a small number. We don't take it lightly.
No.
But there's just like Mr. Martin said, there's not a no cost option.
Right.
The building is beautiful. It's well maintained, but it's what we don't see.
And that's
the
what we were
problem.
thinking. We think, I mean, we served the community well for 50 years. We want to serve them well for the next 50 years. And, if we didn't exist and these students are going to Smith Voc, that $248,000 would be roughly 5 times that.
And this,
With the number of students that would have to go elsewhere.
Yep.
We're worried about, maintaining the building to get the occupancy permit. That's gonna be the big hurdle if we're on the flip side of that. It's a lot of money. And it just made us basically cry, because we were thinking all along that we could just refurbish a building and we'll be done with it. And when that became financially impossible, here we are, we're at the crossroad in our history here, what we can and cannot do. And I know some of these towns are paying less, that have a lower percentage, and some of them, as you can see, are paying substantially more because they have a higher percentage. So your percentage of the project is 3.24% of the total project.
so it is a big number, but
And
What do you need for a vote?
October 6th, there'll be a vote.
And you need all 19?
We need a simple majority.
Simple majority.
Simple majority
So if
of
5,000 people come out to vote and 2,501 vote against it, we don't get it. Or the reverse could be true.
and we've lost our opportunity to work with the MSBA.
So it's cumulative, it's not based on the community.
Correct.
Gotcha.
It would be cumulative across the 19-member towns.
Okay.
Of the amount that come out to vote.
Because we kept wondering how it was gonna go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
And then there's the kind of timeline where we are now. We're in this red timeline. It says today, but we keep meeting like every week, and that I keep
So,
photocopying them.
There's
I
that
don't
vote,
know.
so that's their approval
Yeah.
of our project scope and budget will be happening on April 29th.
And then the actual building, where it would be done, is 2030, 31, in that range.
They anticipate students, if we do get the vote, moving into the building in 2030. And then once they're moved in, then, they'll start school that year in the building. And then they'll work on decommissioning the remaining building. And then work on the fields and all of that. So, and the one thing about building a new school versus renovating, when I started in the district 10 years ago, we had 430 students.
2015, 16, there were, 2014, 15, there were 434.
So 647. So you know what that does to the classroom sizes in the vocational spaces, right? Where the students they don't have as much room in the shop. So by just renovating the school, we weren't going to be able to expand any of those spaces for the growing enrollment either. So there's a benefit to the new construction as well for that aspect.
And that's our MSBA report update.
All right.
Questions? That includes preparing the fields?
Yep, so that'd be for everything, for fields, driveways, any road type stuff that needs to be done to access. It is all part of it.
And they already
And we're not
calculated,
redoing our football field.
they already calculated the increase for each of those years into that.
Correct. So this,
So-
some of these costs too, right, have to be
3 years
with
out.
construction, it's years out. So the escalation's built into that as well.
Yeah.
And there is contingencies, and we hope we don't need the contingencies and the project actually comes in less. Right? I mean, that's the goal. But
It won't come in more.
we don't know. You don't always know. You don't know. I mean, we're
Right.
right now. I mean, just between endangered species, what we've encountered, and like we didn't know we had grasshopper, sparrow, moths, and lupin, and so there's all those mitigation things that potentially could come up. So they do have to build in some contingencies. So hopefully we don't need to use them, and the project can actually come in below budget.
And when would the payments from the town start? And would they start at the full amount, or would it be
They would not.
gradually?
They would ramp up. So about 2028. So our cash flows would start needing us to go out. Very small amount. So Bernardston, you're looking at about $7,500 in 2028, and then about 2030 is when it will really start to ramp up.
You get those numbers are online?
I don't have the numbers online yet because I'm just waiting for that April 29 vote. And once we have that vote, then we can share.
So we're tentatively sharing you
I'm just trying to give everyone
the information going to the MSBA for approval, but since they haven't approved it, we can't really give you it.
so
Makes sense.
and just making sure that working with the financial advisors that everything is truly refined to the exact numbers. But I think we're looking pretty good with MSBA for that April 29th. I don't foresee issues, but I don't want to put the cart before the horse. So
I'm not gonna say anything, you don't know.
yeah, so let's hope.
Wow.
Let's hope they offer us more money, but it doesn't.
Yeah.
It doesn't sound like the case.
Well, let's hope that some costs go down before we get there. We've
Right.
watched them go up.
Yeah,
Right.
I mean,
We
yeah.
didn't build a new fire station because costs went up way beyond what we told the town we needed.
I mean, our designers and our project managers know what we're tasking them with, and that is to.
Well, we hired them. I
Yeah.
remember that first meeting, there were probably 30 architects in the room. And I said, those who plan on building the Taj Mahal can go home now, right?
Yeah.
What we need is what we got.
Yeah.
Just make it compliant and
Safe and-
whatever.
Sure.
Those who want to build it, and so that actually, my comment, I found out it turned away a lot of people. I was just like, that's it, and like, we're gonna get,
Don't waste your time.
right, don't waste your time with us. First, I'm gonna tell you who we are, and then I went through the whole thing with the demographics and the stats and all that kind of stuff. I said, so, you're not gonna get more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is who we are.
I just love the fact that, to Brian's point earlier, I love the fact that even though you're retiring, which is sad, you still looked ahead 10 years. That's a testament to your dedication.
And they're gonna keep me on in a consultant role
Nice.
until the project's voted.
All right.
So I'll still kinda.
We won't make him wear a vote, yeah, sure.
And then the only other observation regarding building the new building, I think we're going to see a lot of former tech school graduates in that construction part of it,
Let's hope.
whether it's
Let's
plumbing,
hope.
electrical, or
Yeah.
what have you. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
pretty cool.
That's another point, yeah.
Subcontractors.
I'm gonna add that to my
Yeah,
talking
we-
points. I didn't even,
Absolutely.
can I steal that and not
Of
give you the
course.
credit?
Yeah, just go for it.
Yeah.
And even to have our students witness, I mean, they won't necessarily be hands-on with the project,
Right.
but to be able to be part of it and
Yeah,
witness it,
sure.
and it's almost like a field trip in itself, right?
Yeah.
Just to be able to observe
Yeah.
and,
Right.
Some teaching points.
exactly,
Yeah, all
yeah.
kinds of.
so,
Cool.
All right.
thank you. For
I know it was a
letting
long
us-
meeting,
Thank you for-
Yeah.
but those are two important.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
absolutely.
Very
Appreciate
important.
you coming.
Thanks for your support.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
thank
Have a
you.
great
Yes.
night.
Thank you very
all.
much.
Thank you.
And congratulations on your
Yes,
retirement.
for sure.
Thank you.
Enjoy. Okay, next up, we're gonna move on to make it tough for Tyler to pick up voices. Calendar and announcements. Let's try to bomb through these here. As families begin looking ahead to the warmer months, Bernardston's 2026 summer camp program is excited to share everything parents need to know for the upcoming season. Registration is now open and families can choose whichever enrollment method works best for them. Parents may register online through the town website under the blue Online Services tab, where they can complete a paper registration form available on the website or at Town Hall and return it with a check or money order made out to the town of Bernardston. The summer camp program is built around the Recreation Commission's vision of strengthening community through recreation. Every part of the program is designed to help children grow socially, physically, and creatively. The camp is fully licensed through the Franklin Regional Council of Governments, and the summer camp staff will participate in comprehensive training to ensure a safe, positive, and enriching experience for every camper. Each week brings a fresh mix of activities, arts and crafts, drama, sports, outdoor games, group challenges, nature exploration, and special projects tied to the week's theme. This variety helps keep children engaged and excited from the first day to the last. Parents who would like more detailed information about daily routines or expectations and camp policies can find the 2026 Summer Day Camp Parent Handbook on the Recreation Commission homepage of the town website. On April 17th, the Franklin County Tech School will host their second annual bike tune-up event. This event is open to the entire community. Franklin County Tech School has partnered again with Speed and Sprocket Cycle Works, the Connecticut River Valley's mobile bike shop, to offer a full day of tune-ups and repairs of bike-related goodies. Just drop off your bike in the morning, and by the end of the day, it will be ready to ride like new. The costs start at $80 for adult multi-gear bikes and $45 for kids' single-speed bikes. Parts are extra. Please register in advance at the Franklin County Tech School Facebook page. Please contact the Adult Education Department at Franklin County Tech School with your questions at 413-863-6980. And the big news, and Peter was here, but on April 18th from 11 o'clock in the morning to 2 p.m. in the afternoon, the Bernardston Fire Department will welcome the community to an open house at the new fire station located at 167 Northfield Road in Bernardston. This event marks far more than opening of a building. It represents years of planning, collaboration, and commitment to strengthening public safety in Bernardston. The open house will begin with opening remarks from Fire Chief Pete Shedd, followed by a ribbon cutting ceremony. We're going to talk about him when he's not in the room. Followed by a ribbon cutting ceremony to officially mark the station's opening. Guests will be invited to join guided tours of the building, offering a behind-the-scenes look at the apparatus bays, gear room, workspaces, and thoughtful features built to support the department's mission. Light refreshments will be available, and firefighters will be on hand to answer questions and share the story of how the project came together. The last day to register to vote for the annual town election is Friday, April 24th, from 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. at the Town Hall Town Clerk's office. The town will be holding a special town meeting immediately before the annual town meeting on April 29th, 2026. Both meetings will be held at the Pioneer Valley Regional School Auditorium. The special town meeting is scheduled for 6:30 p.m. start, followed by the annual town meeting at 7 o'clock p.m. The special town meeting is being called because the town recently received clarification from the state regarding an issue involving the transfer station bags. Specifically, there are prior year overpayments that need to be addressed. The state has advised that these corrective actions be handled through a single-purpose multi-town meeting so the matter remains clean and isolated for accounting and auditing purposes. Are there any citizens' comments not already on the agenda?
The Finance Committee meeting is meeting Monday at 5:30 at the fire station.
Perfect.
It is not a joint meeting, it is just the Finance Committee.
Okay. And
I'm not picking on you, I'm
Yeah.
just clarifying for the public.
And I'm just going to jump ahead, if it's okay with you guys, while Peter's here, so we can take
Go.
advantage of his
Do it.
time. Peter, if you want to come up, we'll just talk briefly about the potential for the Bernardston-Leiden Shared Fire Service. It's not done deal yet, but just so if people are hearing things out in the community, we can maybe clarify a few of them. Bernardston-Leiden did receive a grant to look into possible shared services, what things may make sense, what things might not make sense. And for about a year, right, Brian? Brian, you're on that committee.
Yep.
One of the things they've been talking about is shared fire service between Leiden and Bernardston. Getting close to putting some sort of an agreement in place where Bernardston Fire would cover fire calls in the town of Leiden, and they would pay the town of Bernardston a fee. Still working through all the paperwork on that. The lawyers are looking at it to see the agreement meets snuff. This would be for 1 year, and I'm gonna say the wrong word. Is it an MOU or an MOA?
MOA,
MOA, thank you.
which is Memorandum of Agreement.
Which will get us started for the year. We'll be able to gather some more data over the course of that year to see what true costs are coming to Bernardston, what Bernardston will be responsible for, what Leiden will be responsible for, with the hopes of creating an MOU, Memorandum of Understanding, for a term such as 3 years, and I'm only throwing that out there as a guess. Similar to how we do shared police services in the towns. Is that a correct statement?
Yep.
From everybody? You want to elude any more, then it's not a done deal yet. We think we're close to finalize it, and the hope is to start July 1st of 2026, if it all pans out.
As far as both departments, though, talking to Leiden and Bernardston, I think both memberships are for it. I've had 4 of the 5 or 5 of the 6, I'm not sure what their total is, but have already come forward and asked for applications that they want to get the application thing rolling, so if it does happen, they can roll right along and go into doing so.
And one of the things, as Pete's talking about, is current firefighters in Leiden and any other community members in Leiden that wish to join the fire department would be joining the Bernardston Fire Department, because they would then be responding to calls in Leiden.
Correct.
As well as the existing Bernardston firefighters. So still more to come on that, but we just felt it was important. The community who's probably been hearing some talk about it, there were a little bit of clarity. We're getting close with the hopes of starting July 1st. Do you want to add anything else that I might have missed on
No,
that?
that sounds good.
Do you have anything else you want?
We've been talking to dispatch, help and control, to see what's the easiest way for them for toning or whatever, both departments. I've been in conversation with the Department of Fire Services and the Fire Marshal to make sure Bernardston's covered, Leiden's covered, that we're not, anybody's keister's not being hung out there.
Is this new territory in the state of Commonwealth of Massachusetts, or have other towns?
Other
partnered?
towns have done similar, and I believe actually right now, Rowe and, they're gonna be Rowe in the future, Rowe and Charlemont are gonna be doing something similar there. Chief-o-Neer's getting done here, I believe, in July, and they're advertising for a full-time chief, and then they'll combine the 2 departments. And there's been some different versions, like the same chief for Wendell and New Salem, but it's always ran as 2 separate departments.
Yeah.
The Buckland, Shelburne district, there's one group there that's basically the same thing, it's the same chief in the 2 things. Same with Montague and Montague Center, or Turner's Falls and Montague Center. They're gonna have the same chief for the 2 departments, so.
So more to come. There's a lot that goes on in the background, as Pete's alluded to, that he has to do to make sure dispatch, which we all think is pretty simple, who's actually getting toned out, what vehicles are getting toned out. Eventually, the renumbering of vehicles
Yeah.
is important in the fire service as to what vehicles actually responding to the scene or what's being requested at the scene. There's a lot of stuff that they have to do in the background. The simpler part is really the agreement, I think. It's all the stuff that you're talking about. in the background.
And we're just taking the average numbers that they've had, and we're just, well, if this number stays true, then, you know, we should be able to do it. But as we said before, you throw in a couple of structure fires and them numbers can go south real fast, because some big calls, they eat up a lot of money fast and everything else, so it's.
All right.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
So, green communities, our green committee, we have to work to us. Sarah created this
Yep.
list, and
Oh.
I said, well, let's pass it by them
That's fine.
and see what you
Yep.
say too.
Yep.
So, yeah, and that's fine, because they are an employer where you're counselors they're very seasonal anyway,
And there's a lot of medical
And they're
type
just-
records that come through them to their purview. There's money that comes through their purview.
Yeah, they see the
yeah,
Corey.
Yeah, the Corey and
Oh,
Sori
that's-
stories
stuff.
for everybody.
So they do see more stuff than some of these other folks would. I definitely think, like election poll workers.
Well, and honestly, the election workers are already exempt anyways
Right.
from state law.
Okay.
And so is the tax write-off people, they are exempt from it as well.
So what was the other ones other than the,
Director for the summer camp staff and the assistant director for summer camp
you
staff.
want to modify your motion?
Yes, modify the motion to include all of the people on that list except the director and assistant director of summer camp staff.
Second.
Can I ask a question
Sure.
before you vote
Yep.
on that? There was a reference to senior center, and the phrase was who don't,
1 day or less.
1 day or less. I don't know that I would go with the 1 day or less.
You want more days?
I want more days, and,
For the volunteers you're talking about?
I'm talking about the volunteers, but it said the volunteers and all, that they were exempt, but then it also talked about, read that last thing.
It's a
One-time
one-time
vendors at senior center events.
Right,
1 day or less of services per calendar year.
that, I think, before you pass that, you should talk to the senior center director and find out how many of those vendors and those people are repeat in a 12-month period. Because I think there are some, and I don't think that just because somebody comes twice in the year, they should have to do the ethics things, or,
That's a fair point.
you know,
Yeah.
I don't know how you phrase it, and I don't have a suggestion, I just,
Yeah, I don't know either. Do you have any input on that, Ken, or not?
I do not. I can't imagine that we have any one-time vendors,
no, I think
one-day
that-
vendors. I can't,
I mean, there may be an occasional one that only comes once, but
Like a musical
most of the programs that
band?
I see, it's a repeat,
Yes.
2 or 3 times a year.
Well, you
So
could,
change it to 4.
you could modify your motion again to omit that for now, pending conversation with Pam, to see how relevant any of that is. We
Yeah,
can bring that back
that's a
at
good
a
idea.
future meeting.
And you can just get the other ones off the list.
Thank you, Lou.
That works.
So I'll amend the motion again to include everyone except the summer camp staff, director and assistant director, and the one-time vendors at senior center events pending a conversation with the senior center director.
Second.
Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, next up, special town meeting warrant, a reading of that. Try to get the right document.
I didn't print it.
Okay, this is for the special town meeting, which will be at 6:30 on April 29th at Pioneer. I'm not gonna read the greeting, if that's okay with everybody. We'll just read the articles, is that all right?
That's fine.
All right, this is a special town meeting now. It's 6:30 PM, Pioneer Valley High School on April 29th, 2026. Article 1, to see if the town will vote to transfer from free cash the sum of $410.44 to pay Amazon Capital Services for FY '22 invoices or take any voter votes in relation thereto. This article requires a 9/10 voting majority, and the Select Board and Finance Committee recommends passage of this article. And the explanation is there's 3 different bills from Amazon that didn't get paid, as there was a question over whether products were actually really delivered or not. And it turns out they were. So it's a good bill to pay. Anybody have anything else they want to say about that one? Article 2 of the special town meeting, to see if the town will vote to transfer from free cash the sum of $76,950 to reimburse Marshall's Country Store, 44 Church Street, Bernardston, Massachusetts, 01337, for overpayment on purchases of transfer station trash bags in FY '24 and FY '25, or take any action relative thereto. And the Select Board and Finance Committee recommends passage of this article. Any questions, comments on that one?
I'm all set.
Jane?
No?
So that's the special town meeting.
I think there are 3 articles on it?
Nope. Nope. Wasn't supposed to be 3, was there?
Not
Is there
mine
only 2
now.
articles?
Yeah, there's 3 bills for the first article, maybe that's
Okay,
what you're
That's
thinking?
why I read it then, okay.
But they're all for the same vendor, so they were lumped into one.
So you motion to approve it, or?
That's a good idea, yeah. We entertain a motion to approve and sign the special town meeting warrant to be held on Wednesday, April 29th, 2026 at 6:30 PM at the Pioneer Valley Regional School Auditorium as written and somewhat read.
So moved.
Second.
Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Did we give you a signed copy? of
Yes,
that,
Chris
right?
has it.
Yep. Next up, annual town meeting warrant. We're gonna read portions of this so folks have an understanding of what's coming up at the annual town meeting on April 29th, 2026 at 7 o'clock PM at the Pioneer Valley Regional High School Auditorium. Again, I'm gonna bypass the reading. So Article 1, to act upon the reports of the town clerk, town treasurer, select board, school committees, all other town officers and committees as contained in the annual town report for 2025, and to hear an oral report from the select board on the status of the charity lot trust fund, to hear a report from the 6-town regional planning board on what to expect in the coming months regarding the proposed regionalization, to hear a report from the select board, and to hear a report from the finance committee chair regarding the FY '27 town budget. And the select board and finance committee recommends passage of this. My only question on that is who's doing the 6-town regionalization planning board, what to expect?
Things that went up, the thing that went down is that last year we set the reserve fund up with 200,000 so that we'd be able to cover grant deficiencies or other expenses that were unanticipated this year. And we are not budgeting 2,000 this year, we're budgeting 100,000 instead of 200,000, so that, hopefully will be a good move.
Right.
Thank you.
Yep. Article 6, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate $38,359 for Bernardston's share of the education expenses in accordance with the amounts recommended by the Finance Committee, as shown in the first column of the following table, Table 2, for passing a vote or votes relative thereto, and the Select Board and the Finance Committee recommend passage of this article. So within this article is the Pioneer Valley School Committee representatives, the tech school representative, the normal BES capital improvements of $5,000, and a couple new additions to this one this year are to approve replacing 3 of the interior doors at BES that are cracked, and for an out-of-district tech school tuition for $22,559 as a student from town is going to Smith Folk.
Can I add to that?
Sure.
The lottery for Smith Folk was today,
Yeah.
so within the next few days, we'll know if our student made the lottery.
Yep.
And if the student did make the lottery, the family has said, we will pay the transportation costs. We're not going to hold the town responsible for that.
Which is
Yes,
very
general
generous.
law says we would have to pay it, but they are not going to go there.
And we just amend that on the floor if the student
Right,
didn't.
exactly.
Right.
Okay, Article 7, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate $335,585, transfer from free cash $6,681, for a total for Article 7 of $342,266, for Bernardston's share of the education expenses in accordance with the amounts recommended by the Finance Committee as shown in the first column of the following table, Table 3, or pass any vote or votes relative thereto. And the Select Board and Finance Committee recommend passage of this article. And within this article is the Franklin County Tech School operating and capital budgets, which saw an increase for the operating budget of $3,428 year over year. Any other things we should mention in that one?
No, that's a 1% increase. That's minimal.
As we heard in the report tonight, for those that are watching, pretty self-explanatory. Article 8, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate $4,010,601, transfer from free cash $54,422, for a total of Article 8 of $4,065,023 for Bernardston share of the education expenses in accordance with the amounts recommended by the Finance Committee as shown in the first column of the following table, Table 4, or pass any voter votes relative thereto. And the Select Board and Finance Committee do not recommend passage of this article. Within this article is a $4,010,601 assessment for the Pioneer Valley Regional School District operating budget, which is a 14.22% increase to the town of Bernardston, on top of last year's 9.31% increase to the Pioneer Valley Regional School District.
We need to correct the formatting of these numbers because it's the identifier is percent increase. It says 0.1422. If you look up at the Franklin County Tech one, it shows the correct presentation. It should say 4.24. So just slide the decimal point over.
And add a percent sign.
Bingo.
You
Yes.
see that, Karen?
Yep.
That's an easy one though, right?
It's because I didn't add the percent sign that it printed that way.
And the other part of that article is Bernardston's share of capital costs. And they're looking for, Pioneer Valley Regional, that is looking for a total of $151,400 in capital projects, which include parking lot repairs, server room air conditioning, window shades, replacement HVAC in the Learning Center, replacing carpet and tile, replacing the kitchen grease trap, replacing classroom heating components.
Did you read the paragraph or the section, the Select Board and the Finance Committee do not recommend?
Yes.
That? You read that? I just didn't hear it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Can I comment on the capital project?
Sure.
Every year up until this year, we have listed like the $50,000 parking lot. We would, and our share is what, 35%, so we would have had the 35% of 50,000 in the recommended by Finance Committee column. We didn't split that out this year, and I hope that wasn't a mistake because other years from the floor, people have made exception to one or more of the items. And we'll be doing some calculations if that happens this year.
And just a couple notes on that article. The percentage of the total annual town budget, which includes everything we put in for free cash, everything from the cherry sheets, all other sources of revenue to the town, is 50.39% of the entire budget. And of the raise and appropriate piece, which is the taxable that we all pay, is 68.17% of the raise and appropriate budget for the town of Bernardston. And some of the reasons we're not recommending it is it's a huge increase to this little town of 2,100 people, of just shy of $800,000 over 2 years to the town of Bernardston. We're still seeing some line items in there with some administrators getting pretty significant raises on top of a rather high multiplier from their base salary, which adds to it, which in some of our opinions, mine included, is not forward-facing to the students, is a piece of it. And I know it's a tough budget season throughout the state, and you're seeing many districts doing it. having to cut back where they have to cut back. I mean, as Jane alluded to, we started this budget season a little over $300,000 in the red, which would have been a Prop 2.5 override vote. We made cuts to get us below that.
Painful cuts.
That are real numbers that are taken out of our budget to balance the budget. When we see a total increase for the town of Bernardston year over year was $499,261 just to the operating budget. And I know it's a state formula that goes into it, but one of the inputs to that formula is the school budget, which is now, if I'm quoting the right number, the entire budget's over $16 million now.
As we struggled with this in the joint finance and select board committee meetings each week, the reality is that, correct me if I'm stating this wrong, but 68% of your tax bill goes to pay for PBRS. 68%. And we don't have a say in it. So, go back to the earlier comment, the select board and the finance committee respectfully do not support this budget, that piece of it.
And again, for folks out there, this is about choices, so please pay attention to the money articles at town meeting. Ask a lot of questions. We'll answer everything we can. The superintendent will be there to answer questions. Some of the town departments that saw cuts to get us below that 2.5 override that are seeing cuts, ask them what that cut means to them. We had to make those cuts so as not, we were concerned about the tax rate going up significantly if we had to have a Prop 2.5 override vote if it was successful, of what that would mean to the average person in town of Bernardston, and it wasn't pretty, which is why we chose to make cuts to other departments. So your services are being cut to help support the school. I'm not saying the school is not needed, but is it needed to the extent that it's needed? We heard Superintendent Rick Martin's comments tonight that he couldn't bring these numbers to the taxpayers, so he chose to make cuts in other areas to reduce the burden on the taxpayer. So we're trying to do the same. Whether everybody agrees with us or not, it's another story, but it's about choices.
Can I back up?
Sure.
When we were talking about Article 1, I was pointing out the big differences, and I just looked at the big dollars. But there's one that's kind of a small dollar amount in the whole picture of the thing, but it's not going to be a small thing to that committee. And I apologize to them now because I didn't get back to them yet. But this historical commission asked for $1,000, and they want to start doing things for the town. And we cut that back to what their usual $400 allotment is. So that's $600 of that $300,000 that we had to save. And it looks small compared with all these other numbers, but I know it's going to be very important and very discouraging to them.
Correct. Any other comments on Article 8?
No, you guys pretty much said it all. I was just gonna say that, going along with Ken's assessment, 68 cents for every dollar you spend. Couple that with Brian's comment that leaves 32 cents of every dollar you spend to get your town in order.
For everything else that we do.
Is so,
Including the other school.
yeah.
Right.
That's right, 32 cents for everything else. That's all you get. So, anyway, I like to look at it the other way.
Right.
Pessimistic.
Yeah. But people need to understand that. I mean,
Yeah, we
both
do.
these big money articles, what does it truly mean to pay that bill to other services we all like to use in the town? Article 9, see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate $821,933.74. Transfer from dog licensing revolving fund, $7,234, for a total of Article 9 of $829,167.74 for contracted services, pension and insurance expense in accordance with the amounts recommended by the Finance Committee as shown in the first column of the following table, Table 5, or pass any voter votes relative thereto, and the Select Board and Finance Committee recommend passage of this article. So within this is like the Franklin Regional Council of Governments, other statutory and core services, which are standard fees we pay annually, such as the building inspection program, emergency communications, animal control, accounting services and software within that. The Franklin County Solid Waste District fund is in there. One outlier this year within that one is the emergency medical services. Excuse me. That went up from 82,000 to 123,000 this year.
And that, for clarification for anybody who doesn't know, that's the ambulance service when we need them desperately.
Yeah.
Anything else in there?
Not in that part of it, but in the lower part of it is where the pensions and costs are, which of course we've been hearing all the time have been going up. Our regional retirement allocation went up from 162 to 178,000. But it's the insurance that I want to mention, because we're changing carriers, and we've done our very best to estimate what our costs will be for medical insurance. The enrollment period for the new insurance, which will begin July 1 for all of our employees, that enrollment period ends April 30th. Maybe it's
The day
28th,
after,
but,
yeah.
it ends this month. So Susan Bobby and I are going to try to keep track of what people sign up for and adjust these figures as we go along, so that on the floor we can amend this article, hopefully downward. Because we tried to choose the most expensive. We didn't choose the most expensive, but with some logic behind our choices, we chose the most expensive.
So the money would be there if in fact.
Right. Other than that, I can't shed any light on
It's a big number
it. It is.
for the current employees and the retirees.
Well, it's, yeah, I mean, the town pays 75% and the employee pays 25%. But the percentage that each of us is gonna see going up, it's gonna be the same.
Right.
If it goes up 10% for the town, it went up 10% for the employee.
Right.
Sure. Article 10, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate $1,373,998.40. Transfer from landfill receipts $101,432. Transfer from transfer station recycling account $2,800 for a total of $1,478,230.40 for public services in accordance with the amounts recommended by the Finance Committee as shown in the first column of the following table, Table 6, or pass any voter votes relative thereto. I don't see any, well, I gotta turn the page to see what I see. Yeah, no.
Nothing big other than
Nothing.
payroll.
Yeah, payroll. Yeah, nothing
Well, the
big.
fire department budget is down $50,000 because we took out any potential for them paving the parking lot.
Oh, right.
Right.
And the tree warden had requested an increase, and we denied that this year. That's all I remember about that, except
Yeah.
is recommended by both select board and.
Oh,
finance.
yeah, I'm sorry. Yes, recommended by both. Was that on there? Did I miss that somewhere?
Yeah, it's
Oh, yeah, I'm
tiny.
sorry.
It's
I
tiny print, so you
I
probably won't
apologize.
see
Yes, we do, both committees recommend that, or boards recommend that. passage of that article. Article 11, to see if the town will vote to transfer from free cash $350,000 to the stabilization accounts in accordance with the amounts recommended by the Finance Committee, as shown in the first column of the following table, Table 7, or pass any vote or votes relative thereto. The Select Board and Finance Committee recommend the passage of this article.
Can I comment there? The stabilization, the capital stabilization fund is seeing $300,000 this year instead of $100,000 last year. Because last year we made ourselves an internal loan to pay off the fire truck. So now we're paying ourselves back by putting money back into the stabilization fund to cover the amount we took out last year.
Very
The
important.
reality that the stabilization fund for vehicle replacement, at some point, we're gonna have to up that ante because the vehicles are just,
Well, the vehicle stabilization fund got the usual 50,000,
Right.
which probably, you're right, is not enough.
65 for a new police cruiser.
Yeah. That does get some money added from, I've forgotten where it comes from, so some other place. It gets a little bit added every
You
year.
meant where the meal tax goes in, right?
No, we never voted it directly to stabilization. It was our intent, our background for going to meals, rooms and meals tax was that would help with that, but we never took the vote to directly apply that to the stabilization.
I think some of what you're thinking might have been the host agreement payments,
The host agreement payments,
which are
thank
gone,
you.
which are gone.
Okay, so now we're not gonna see that,
Right.
which goes back to,
Yeah, I think that's what it was.
but we've used all the $3,000 of the free cash, so.
There's nothing left.
That's all we would have available to add to that this year.
We're tapped out.
Yeah, I think we are.
Yeah.
It's crazy to think when I joined the Finance Committee way back when the police cruiser was $32,000.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's just incredible, the increases.
Now
Well,
it's
even the last one we bought, which was 3 years ago, was 54,000.
Yeah.
And this year, when we first started talking about the police cruiser, it was 64. And then when Jim came to meet with all of us, he said, you know, I've been talking to them, can we change it to 65? And that vote, when we get to it further on, it says, the vote says up to 65,000 from stabilization. So if for some reason he gets it cheaper than that, that's the only amount that will come out, not the 65.
Excellent. Anything else? We're good on that one?
We're good on that.
Article 12, to see if the town will vote to transfer from the Barber Fund the amount of $16,686.10 for the Recreation Commission account, and further, to transfer from the Kiwanis Trust unrestricted amount, the sum of $1,000, to the Kiwanis Recreation Equipment Fund to be expended by the Recreation Commission for recreation programs and field maintenance, or take any vote or votes relative thereto. The Select Board and the Finance Committee recommend passage of this article.
Just a tiny modification. After the $sign 16,686.10, it should be to the Recreation Commission account, not for the Recreation. Just a wordsmith there.
Anything else? Article 13, to see.
Oh,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Every single one of these articles is worded that way and always has been, the word for. And so if you change this on this article, then as you go down the list,
It's going to be painful.
yeah, and I don't think it's,
Where
it's
you-
something we can consider for next year. Can I
That's
ask
fine.
for that?
Sure.
Article 13, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the amount of $1,200 for maintenance at the Burke Flat Cemetery, formerly called Village, I'm sorry, the paper's creased, Village / Old Cemetery, or take any vote or votes relative thereto. The Select Board and Finance Committee recommend passage of this article. Questions?
Standard article.
Pretty standard. Article 14, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the amount of $450 for the street and cemetery flag replacement account, or take any vote or votes relative thereto. The Select Board and Finance Committee recommend passage of this article. Pretty standard. Article 15, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the amount of $9,000 for fiscal 28 town audit or take any vote or votes relative thereto. The Select Board and Finance Committee recommend passage of this article. That should not say the word "and" in there.
Okay.
Sorry, wordsmithing again.
Can I comment on that?
Yes.
So we have the quote for that audit, and it's an audit of FY '28 figures, so it will actually happen in FY '29. So we have 3 years. This is the first year of the $9,000.
Thank you. Article 16, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the amount of $2,400 for the third of 5 installments for the Board of Assessors fiscal year '29 revaluation or take any vote or votes relative thereto. The Select Board and Finance Committee recommend the passage of this article. Questions? Comments? Good. Article 17, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the amount of $3,000 for the mosquito control district or take any vote or votes relative thereto. The Select Board and Finance Committee recommend the passage of this article.
Not one mosquito will be harmed with this $3,000, just so you know.
I don't know what the extra expense was last year, but we did spend more than, this $3,000 is our share of being part of the mosquito control district. But if they need to do work in the town, because for this $3,000, they monitor the kinds of mosquitoes that are here. And they pick their monitoring spots. And one was near my house, which didn't make me happy. And then if they discover that we need to take any action because of the kinds of mosquitoes they find, then we have an expense involved with that. And last year there was a charge for doing something, and I don't remember.
Yeah, we had a positive hit somewhere.
How do we cover that additional expense?
Because we have some
how
money
do
in
we?
this account that rolls over every year.
I see, so we're building up a
Well, you
cushion?
have if it was a big
Yeah, we wouldn't have enough.
big
this
problem,
time.
you wouldn't have enough, but for
Okay.
spot problems, we can cover it.
Yeah, and if you wanted to go and spray all the mosquitoes in town, you don't have enough, so. But you could get yourself a plane and do it yourself.
Right.
Just kidding. I'm
Don't-
sorry.
Yeah, don't joke.
Article 18, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the amount of $130,000 for the third of 10 installments for the fire station loan or take any vote or votes relative thereto. The Select Board and Finance Committee recommend the passage of this article.
Standard.
We're gonna see this for 7 more years after this. Article 19, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the amount of $6,000 for the town hall record preservation or take any vote or votes relative thereto. The Select Board and Finance Committee recommend passage of this article.
This is a new article. It was in our budget several years ago, and then it got dropped. So now it's back.
Is it going to be an annual 6,000 or
It's going to be an annual.
so? Okay.
Thank you to Karen, who had researched this.
Anything else? Article 20, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the amount of, $45,624.92 for painting the town hall clock tower or take any vote or votes relative thereto. The Select Board and Finance Committee recommend the passage of this article.
And I think as we've talked, this is one we'll ask to pass over. And we'll give the explanation of the structural engineer's report on this building we're sitting in. And now that we have a civil engineer on board to tie a civil study with the structural study together, the civil is going to tell us why the foundation is washing out, where it's washing out and settling, and how to correct that with some costs associated with that, which is the belief of myself, Brian Miner, and this engineer that the costs that are put for the remedies for this building will far exceed the cost of building a new building. Once you take into account moving staff out of here for a year while you make these repairs, and it would simply be a foundational repair. Nothing inside the building would change. It would still be the same. So we're gonna recommend until we get that study and report completed, which could take till a year from now, let's not put $45,000 in the painting of the tower proper. But that's just one person's opinion.
Right.
Well, that's going to be the recommendation from the two committees
Right.
when you bring it to the floor.
So you still wanted to say that you both recommend passage of this article in the warrant?
Yes.
Okay,
If we were flush with money, we'd probably do it. But
gotcha.
Article 21, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the amount of $8,873 for the refurbishment of the face and hands of the town hall clock, or take any vote or votes relative thereto. The Select Board and Finance Committee recommend the passage of this article. That, go ahead, Jane. I'll let you speak.
You're going to let me speak? We discussed the fact that we would like to see the clock finished, the repairs on the clock finished. However, doing the face and the hands on the clock may require the lift that would be needed for the painting. So I still don't have a definitive answer on that. I'm working on it, and I'll have an answer by the 29th. If it needs that lift, then we're going to put this on hold also. But if it doesn't need the lift, then we'll finish the clock face, because if we do have to go to a new building, we'll want to move the clock.
Agree.
I agree, right.
Yeah, okay.
All right.
Well,
Okay.
Article 22, to see if the town will vote to transfer from free cash the sum of $5,000 to be added to the employee retirement separation account, or take any vote or votes relative thereto. The Select Board and Finance Committee recommend the passage of this article. Standard stuff, happens every year. Article 23, to see if the town will vote to transfer from free cash the amount of $5,000 to be added to the other post-employment benefits, OPEB, trust fund, or take any vote or votes relative thereto. The Select Board and Finance Committee recommend the passage of this article, also a standard article we see every year. Article 24, to see if the town will vote to transfer from free cash the amount of $14,850 to be added to the culvert replacement account, or take any vote or votes relative thereto. The Select Board and Finance Committee recommend the passage of this article.
it's sort of standard. We replenish that account with whatever it needs to get back up to 20,000. But additionally, this year, Brian got a grant to do culvert work, but the grant doesn't cover the cost of the culvert pipe.
Crazy.
So,
We'll
You
figure
know.
the state out there, right?
yeah.
Somebody want to?
Sure.
Yeah.
You want to do any count or not?
Okay. Article 25, to see if the town will vote to transfer from free cash the amount of $15,000 for the renovate, construct town buildings account, or take any vote or votes relative thereto. The Select Board and Finance Committee recommend passage of this article.
Standard.
Standard. Article 26, to see if the town will vote to transfer from free cash the amount of $70,000 to establish an insurance runoff account, or take any vote or votes relative thereto. The Select Board and Finance Committee recommend passage of this article. An explanation, Jane?
This is a necessary fund because we're changing carriers of our medical insurance. The trust has an amount of money that Bernardston paid when they first went into the trust. That was like a reserve fund. When the bills for procedures that happened before June 30th or July 1, come in to the trust, they will pay them out of that fund until they use it up. Once they use that fund up, it's our responsibility, the town's responsibility to pay the difference. So Susan did a little investigating and came up with a couple of other places about our size that were budgeting relatively close to the 70,000 in their budget. And so that's why this is here, to cover runoff. It's called runoff from changing insurance carriers.
It's our best guess, but it is a guess.
It's an absolute guess. And it is something that will go on for more than 1 year.
Like, yes.
Do you remember the months?
I do not know the duration. I think it might be 2 years. But
Yeah,
the substantially,
I'd rather not quote anything.
yeah,
than-
right, we don't want to, we're on camera here, we
It's
don't want to
more than 1
guess.
year.
Right. Article 27, to see if the town will vote to transfer from the vehicle stabilization account an amount up to $65,000 for the purchase of a new cruiser for the police department, or take any vote or votes in relation thereto. This article requires a 2/3 voting majority. The Select Board and Finance Committee recommend passage of this article. There's the up to wording that you talked about
Yes,
earlier.
the only comment I would make is anybody who went on Facebook and didn't realize that it was April 1st, this is not a Cadillac.
No. Hey. Yes. Article 28, to see if the town will vote to borrow or otherwise provide for a sum up to $1,080,000 for the purpose of purchasing a replacement for Bernardston Fire Department engine number 2, and all costs incidental or related thereto, and further, to authorize the treasurer, with the approval of the Select Board, to borrow pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 44, Section 7, subparagraph 1, or any other enabling authority, said sum or a portion thereof for the purposes set forth herein, and to issue bonds and notes therefore, and further, to authorize the Select Board and other appropriate public officials to take all necessary actions to effect the purposes of this article, provided, however, that this appropriation and debt authorization be contingent upon passage of a Prop 2.5 debt exclusion referendum under General Laws, Chapter 59, Section 21C, subparagraph K, or take any vote or votes in relation thereto. This article requires a 2/3 voting majority. The Select Board and Finance Committee recommend passage of this article.
This is a delayed purchase because in prior years we said we couldn't afford it.
Right.
And now we've gotten to the point where it needs to be replaced, and it'll take over a year to get a vehicle.
At least a year.
At
yeah.
least,
Yeah.
at least over a year.
Article 29, to see if the town will vote to borrow or otherwise provide for a sum up to $399,900 for the purpose of purchasing a replacement for a Bernardston Highway Department truck, and all costs incidental and related thereto, and further, to authorize the treasurer, with the approval of the Select Board, to borrow pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 44, Section 7, subparagraph 1, or any other enabling authority, said sum or a portion thereof for the purposes set forth herein, and to issue bonds and notes therefore, and further, to authorize the Select Board and other appropriate public officials to take all actions necessary to effect the purposes of this article. I keep messing up that word.
That's all right.
I do, that's the third time. Provided, however, that this appropriation and debt authorization to be contingent upon passage of a Proposition 2.5 debt exclusion referendum under General Laws, Chapter 59, Section 21C, subparagraph K, to take any vote or votes in relation thereto. This article requires a 2/3 voting majority. The Select Board and Finance Committee recommend passage of this article.
Same thing, the truck is in danger of not being able to go on the road at any given day. So, and again, it will take a year for this to come in. I would like to add some research that I did, because putting these two articles on the warrant doesn't make me particularly comfortable. So I went back and looked at all of my financial data that I have, and I got back to the point where we were paying to pay off the loan for the addition to the high school and the addition to BES. And they were going on at the same time. And the amount we were paying at that time was dollar-wise a little bit less than what these two loans will cost us. No factor was added for the difference in the economy since that year, 2014, it was 2013 or 14, and today. And just remember what you paid for a quart of milk or a loaf of bread or a gallon of gas
Or a stamp.
car back then and what you have to pay today. Add that increment in, and the two of these loans together are cheaper than buying the additions to the two schools, which sounds crazy, but it's a fact.
And then there's the reality that both pieces of equipment that are being replaced are in desperately bad condition.
Well, yes, you know, if we have one fewer truck on the road, that means it takes, we have 3 plow trucks.
Yeah,
So if it takes 6 hours with 3 plow trucks, it'll take 9 hours with 2 plow trucks to clear the roads.
Article 30, to see if the town will vote to add to the Bernardston Revolving Fund bylaw in accordance with Mass General Laws, Chapter 44, Section 53E and a half, as stated in the following table, or take any vote or votes relative thereto. The Select Board and Finance Committee recommend passage of this article. So we're adding to the revolving fund schedule, Family and Community Event Planning Committee. And do we have a number attached to that? Or is that-
And you don't include that in the bylaw.
Okay,
You vote that every year.
so we're just
and
creating
it's the next
that?
article.
Okay.
And actually, we have already created this revolving fund because the law allows the Select Board and the Finance Committee jointly to do this between annual town meetings when a need arises. And that was the case with this. So it's actually out on the books, but now we're making it part of the bylaw.
Okay. Article 31, to see if the town will vote to authorize the following spending limits for revolving funds in accordance with Mass General Laws, Chapter 44, Section 53E and a half, and the Town of Bernardston bylaw for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2025.
26. Good.
It was already fixed it. That
Oh,
was- yeah,
good.
That was
I was going
fixed.
to say, okay. Or take any vote or votes relative thereto. The Select Board and Finance Committee recommend passage of this article. And they are the same from the last year, other than adding,
Other than adding that, and zoning board is increased to 2,000.
so these are the spending limits.
Yes.
And again, we've added the Family and Community Event Planning Committee to the tune of $5,000 in this
Right.
schedule. Article 32, to see if the town will vote to authorize the Select Board to dispose of any town property that is declared surplus by the Select Board according to the law, or take any other action relative thereto. The Select Board and Finance Committee recommend passage of this article. That's boilerplate. Article 33, to see if the town will vote to authorize the Select Board to take all necessary actions to remove and dispose of the building located to the left and directly behind the town hall over there, including but not limited to contracting for demolition services, site restoration, and related expenses, or take any other action relative thereto. The Select Board and Finance Committee recommend passage of this article. Article 34, to see if the town will vote to endorse, okay, here we go. This is a long one.
This is the petitioned article.
Yes.
Do
To
we
see
have
if
to
the,
read the summary? I think you should just stop at,
Yeah, I just read the first part.
okay, just the first paragraph?
Yeah, just the article.
To see if the town will vote to endorse an act establishing Medicare for all in Massachusetts. House 1405 and Senate 860 legislation is currently pending before the before the Massachusetts General Court, and will communicate its support to our state senators, plural, and representatives, or take any action relative thereto. And this was submitted by Louise Say again?
Legois.
Legois.
So this was a petitioned article, so they will have a handout at the town meeting, and
And
they will speak to.
somebody will be there
questions
to
people
speak
Yes.
about it. There is no recommendation or anything else
No,
from,
because it's a petition.
doesn't need to, because it's a petitioned article. Article 35, to see if the town will vote to have its elected recreation commission become an appointed recreation commission appointed by the select board pursuant to the provisions of Mass General Law, Chapter 41, Section 1B, or take any other action relative thereto. And this was submitted by the Recreation Commission, and the Recreation Commission recommends passage of this article.
Can I add to that?
Please.
The general law requires that annual town meeting vote to do this, and then it requires that it must go on the next town election ballot.
Special election, even, or,
Yeah, either.
I'm not, when I read the law, I wasn't sure if it could go on a special election.
okay.
So I would ask, I'd ask our attorney to clarify that.
Donna,
Or the
okay.
attorney general. one
Yeah,
of them.
I spoke to Donna yesterday about that, and she said it can wait until the next regular town election, that if they had put forth this article a little bit earlier, could have been reacted and put it on the
This
upcoming,
town ballot.
yeah.
Yeah. So
So-
she did kind of indicate that it has to be the annual ballot,
Yes.
yeah.
So this would, the impact of that would be that the official that's asking to be exempted, basically, won't be able to serve on the committee, in fact, chair of the committee, and also serve as the summer rec.
No, that's different.
That's
That's
different.
different?
the next
Okay.
one.
You're getting
gonna
to
read
that.
one.
Okay, see what happens when I read.
Yep.
With that, I'll,
Well, it's okay. I mean,
Sure.
it's a legitimate question.
Yep.
no, okay.
Article 36 we're on, right?
Yep.
To see if the town will vote to authorize pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 268A, Section 20D, 2 members of the Recreation Commission be appointed to paid positions of the Recreation Commission. Said permission permitting members of the Recreation Commission to be eligible for paid employment with the town of Bernardston without being subject to the 1-year waiting period and otherwise required by law. Set exemptions to apply solely to the position of Recreation Operations Manager and Summer Camp Director, and further to require the members appointed to such positions to file the necessary written disclosures with the town clerk in accordance with statute or take any action relative thereto. And the summary of that is this article would allow the town to approve 2 conflict of interest exemptions so that a sitting member of the Recreation Commission may be hired into either the Recreation Operations Manager position or the Summer Camp Director position without waiting 1 year after leaving the commission. Approval by town meeting annually is required for this exemption to be valid. You want to speak to that at all?
No, that pretty much sums
Pretty
it
much
all
sums
up.
it up, right?
What surprises me there is the approval by town meeting annually.
Annually.
That's-
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. That's the only part I didn't know, so.
The fact that the year will have passed and she won't have to be subject to that, doesn't that negate that re-voting it every year? Am I wrong?
I'd only add that council has already looked at this and approved the
Oh, good.
articles as written.
She didn't say that 36 was dependent upon the vote required by 35?
No,
She didn't indicate that?
no.
Because that's a question.
Yeah.
Excuse me, I'm gonna sneeze.
Bless you.
Okay, the
Sorry
next,
about that, Jane, I gave you my cold.
the next article is
Thanks a lot.
the zoning article, which we're not going to go into. That's the zoning board and planning board. They're quite long. There's many charts. It wouldn't make sense if we tried
And
to
they'll be
explain it.
there at the meeting.
And
too.
they'll be at it.
Yep,
This
think
is
those are-
the ADU.
yes.
Yeah.
And,
Goes through
and
several
copies of this warrant can be picked up before town meeting if you want to read it all.
In all 5
and be
places.
prepared.
It is the Commonwealth of Massachusetts law.
So, given that, I would entertain a motion to approve and sign the annual town meeting warrant to be held on Wednesday, April 29th, 2026, at 7 PM at the Pioneer Valley Regional School Auditorium as written.
So that's a
moved.
change from last year, the venue.
Correct. So it's at Pioneer.
And at night.
It was last year too.
Was it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right, too. It was a
Saturday
It
morning.
was Saturday.
Saturday,
last
at
year. It's
Pioneer.
back till
Right.
weeknight this year.
You win.
Did you second that motion?
I did.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Next
So
up,
to
annual
Jane's
town
point,
election
you
warrant.
can pick them up at Bernardston Town Hall, the Bernardston Post Office, Marshall's Country Store, the Senior Center, or read it online at the townofbernardston.org website.
Okay, the annual town election warrant. In the name of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, you're hereby directed to notify and warn the inhabitants of said town qualified to vote in elections and town affairs to meet at the Bernardston Town Hall, 38 Church Street, on Monday, May 4th, 2026, beginning at 11 a.m. until 7 p.m., then and there to bring in their votes on one ballot for the following offices. One assessor for 3 years, one Board of Health for 3 years, one Board of Health for 2 years, one constable for 3 years, 4 Cushman Library trustees for 3 years, one Cushman Library trustee for 2 years, one moderator for 3 years, 4 Powers Institute trustees for 3 years, one Powers Institute trustee for 2 years, 2 Recreation Commission members for 3 years, one Recreation Commission member for 1 year, and one Select Board for 3 years. You're hereby directed to serve this warrant by posting up certified copies thereof at least 7 days before the time of holding said election at the 5 places within the town listed: Bernardston Town Hall, 38 Church Street; Bernardston Post Office, 9 Center Street; Marshall Store, 44 Church Street; Bernardston Senior Center, 20 Church Street; and the town website at www.townofbernardston.org. Hereof, fail not, make due return this notice with your doing thereon to the town clerk at the time and place of said meeting aforesaid, given under our hands this 15th day of April, 2026. So to entertain a motion to approve and sign the annual town election warrant to be held on Monday, May 4th, 2026, from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. at the Bernardston Town Hall as written.
So moved.
Second.
Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Next up, reclassification of Police Chief James Palmieri to an exempt status. I would entertain a motion to approve the reclassification of Police Chief James Palmieri from non-exempt to exempt status effective July 1st, 2026, and to establish his annual salary at $123,690.91 pursuant to the board's authority under Mass General Law, Chapter 41, including subsection 97A, 108, and 108A. This action shall be recorded as an appointment to exempt status and shall constitute regular compensation for retirement purposes under Mass General Law, Chapter 32.
So moved.
Second.
And this is just really cleaning up some of the books for a position that truly is an exempt position within the town. So we've taken his average overtime he's worked over the last
3 or 4 years.
3 or 4 years, and the average holidays he has worked, which he is paid overtime for, incorporated that within his salary, so he will no longer get overtime and/or overtime for holidays.
And can I add, it did not change the bottom line of the police budget?
Correct. It just moved some things out of the overtime line to his salary, so the bottom line police budget did not change. All those in favor?
Aye.
We have one BES use application. I'd entertain a motion to approve the Bernardston Elementary School use application for the 2026 Bernardston Summer Day Camp from June 16th through August 8th, 2026.
So moved.
Second.
Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Old business, we have none. Anybody have any other business unknown at the time of posting?
That's plenty.
I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
It's a wrap.
Thank you,
Thanks for
everyone.
hanging in there.
Yeah.
Wow.